Okay. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Alan Hill. I'll be your tour guide this evening. And I invite you to notice that we are here to talk about how to get more referrals from your referral partners. So this will be for the posted jobs you've applied for. I had a situation last week where a couple of folks reached out to me and said, "Hey, I see you work at Optum." I'm like, "Yes, I do. I applied for this job. Awesome. Send me what you got and I will make sure that the recruiter knows." Unfortunately, they sent me um, material that could be improved upon to be more specific. And I want to walk you through that as an example today so that you know how to work with people who are working at companies and want to refer you to jobs or to recruiters, how to best help them. Because I don't think this is often communicated well or communicated often enough. And so the nice thing is this presentation is going to be recorded and up on our Eagle Group website on YouTube. But if you want a copy of this, just let me know in the chat with your email address and I'll make sure that you get a copy of it at the end of this. So here's what we're going to look at today is on the other side of the email, my side, right? It's difficult when the resume doesn't match the job, and it's difficult when there's no qualifications that specifically speak to the posting. And so as your referral partner, I can help you best when your qualifications speak to this role specifically. Let me talk a little bit about why that is. Oftentimes it doesn't matter as much if you don't meet 100% of the qualifications. However, for large companies like where I work at Optum and some other companies that might have government contracts, that can be problematic because they're not permitted, the recruiters are not permitted to consider you if you don't meet 100% of the minimum qualifications. What's happening in the background is they're potentially putting their government contracts at risk if they ever get audited, and they do get audited to make sure that their hiring practices are fair and equitable. So they don't want to risk it if somebody comes up to them and says, "Why did you hire this person when they did not meet 100% of the minimum qualifications, but yet you rejected this other candidate who does," right? That's not a question they want to get involved with. So as an applicant, it's important to make sure that your resume and the email that you send for a referral request speak directly to the qualifications. And I know a lot of people think that they do, and I'm going to invite you to notice that there's room for improvement, and I'm going to go through that with you today. So it's okay to steal their words. Use the job posting as a baseline for your edits. Tweak your resume every time. What I advise is take a summary section at the top of the resume and edit that place for sure. There may need to be other changes deeper into the resume to match what you're saying. Like, if you say I have qualifications with SQL, but SQL is nowhere else in your resume other than your summary, that's going to be a challenge for the recruiter to believe. So make sure that if your summary section matches throughout your resume. So here's what it looks like when done. And I'm not going to read this to you. I'm going to call out points here that I think will help. This is actually what I sent to a recruiter recently for a candidate. And so I mentioned the employee is posted for the specific job, and I explain a little bit about the person, and I do state that they have applied for the role. The reason why I state that is because oftentimes the very first knee-jerk reaction that recruiters have is, well, have them apply for the role. Okay, well, that's already done. They've already applied. I'm letting you know as a courtesy, and I've attached the resume so that you can review it at your convenience. So the next 3 or 4 bullet points here are the most important pieces, right? These come from and speak to directly from the qualifications on the job posting. I'm going to say that again. These speak directly to and come from the job posting. This is what sells you to the recruiter. This is what tells them the cover letter and or the resume are worth looking at. And if that's worth looking at, then the application's worth looking at. Because these are the these come right from the job posting. So consider them like check marks or check boxes, minimum viable candidate. Then I try to put a little bit extra in that because I know the candidate, I try to put in a little bit about their character or their work ethic or something like that that humanizes and personalizes them. So what I ask for from the candidates is to send me the job ID number so that I can look it up and find who the recruiter is. Send me the resume that you've modified to match that posting. And send me the top 3 or 4 qualifications in your in bullet form so that I can sell you to the recruiter. So here's oftentimes what I get. This is actually what the candidate sent me. And they said, I've matched my bullet points and my resume to the posting. And unfortunately, and I'll show you in just a second here, these don't specifically speak to the posting requirements. They allude to it, they hint at it, but they do not speak to it. These words were not lifted from the job posting. They were created from the person's experience. And there's nothing wrong with having these. The challenge is these don't speak to the posting. And so it gets harder for me to represent you as a qualified candidate when there's nothing in the posting in the bullets. And this is gonna come back again so you can see them more specifically. So here's the qualifications. 2 years writing business requirements, 2 years of SQL, 2 years of validating data, 2 years large data sets, project management, proficiency in Word. Hang on. None of that is here. I see data sets. So as it is, this isn't a highly qualified candidate. I see we got a chat here. Let me just read this real quick. Certain requirements, SQL as an example. Maybe one part of it's not. Okay. If you have the experience. Okay, so the question is, if I got the gist of it, is if I don't have SQL and the posting requires it, it depends on the company. Specifically in our company, if you do not have 2 years of SQL experience, that recruiter is probably not going to consider your application. And the reason for that is because it's required qualifications. Now, having said that, is look at this requirement, and if it says 2 years of SQL experience or equivalent, or experience with other databases, right, then you're probably going to qualify, depending on what your experience is. And also, if it's not our company, Optum, right, other companies may consider that if they don't have a hard and fast rule about being 100% qualified. So I'm not going to share all that. Don't feel like you have to read all of this. Just look at the yellow highlighted stuff. These are some additional preferred qualifications. I want to make sure you had the full qualifications here. But here we have Agile team, experience with Agile tools, Tableau, Power BI, Cognos, worked with offshore teams, HEDIS and STAR. Now that was in the original bullets, and that does match up, but it wasn't a strong match. So here I've summarized the required qualifications and the bullets. So he does mention MS Office. He does mention large data sets, and he does mention 2 years of experience writing business requirements. So that's good, but it can get better. So now for the resume. So when I typed in the requirements out of the posting into his resume for a search, I kept getting no match, no match, no match, no match. So what that says to a recruiter is not qualified. So this was his summary. And as you can see, there's a few hits: business requirements, data, project management, Excel, and PowerPoint. But that's a lot of text to say 3 or 4 or 5 things. So the point being is we can make better use of his summary on his resume. So here is the summary that he changed to match the requirements. You can see in green all the extra hits and matches. And then also HEDIS and STARS, which is on the preferred qualifications. But as you can see, we're a much higher match and much more highly qualified for this posting after the updates to the summary. And I'm going to go back so you can see the before and after. I'm just going to leave this on the screen for a minute or so that you can actually absorb it and take it in. But as you can see, this person in this summary is much more highly qualified than the previous person. They stand a much better chance of being selected for an interview. Now, at this point, I do want to invite you to notice something. This job had been posted for a while. They may still not get an interview even though they've gone through all this work. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Oftentimes they keep the posting open long, I won't say long after they've got their preferred candidates selected. But they do that sometimes because they're what I'll call farming. They're looking for candidates for other opportunities that they may have posted. And so if you're not going to be considered for this one, if they've got their preferred candidates in mind, still apply, because you may be considered for other opportunities that they may have coming up or they may have recently posted that you'd be a good fit for. I see that quite frequently. So at this point, questions, thoughts, hints and allegations, things